Welcome to the Expensive Coins History channel. Ever wondered which French coins are worth a fortune? Money bag from rare classics to hidden gems, today we're counting down the top 7 French coins worth millions. Stay tuned, you won't believe number 1. The 1973 French 5 francs coin, specifically the version with no mint mark. Although it may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change from the 1970s, this coin carries a fascinating history, a distinct artistic design, and a marketplace value that many people misunderstand. In this video, we will explore its background, its rarity, its true worth, and what collectors can realistically expect in 2025 if they own or want to purchase one. Let's start with the origin of the coin. The 1973 5 francs piece was minted during the period of the New Franc, a reformed version of France's currency introduced in the 1960s. The coin features one of the most iconic national symbols of France, la semeuse, known in English as the sower. She is depicted striding forward confidently, scattering seeds as the sun rises behind her. This imagery symbolizes renewal, growth, and progress, making it one of the most artistically admired designs in French numismatics. Turning the coin over reveals more symbolism. The reverse displays a harmonious blend of olive branches, wheat, and oak leaves, representing peace, agriculture, and strength. The national motto Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité is engraved proudly above the central denomination of 5 francs. The coin itself is made of copper nickel, weighs 10 grams, and measures 29 mm in diameter, making it substantial in the hand compared to many modern coins. Now let's talk about rarity, because this is where a lot of misconceptions begin. Many people assume that if a coin is old and has no mint mark, it must be rare. But in reality, the 1973 French 5 francs coin was produced in very large quantities. Over 45 million pieces were minted, which firmly places it in the common category for collectors. The absence of a mint mark does not indicate rarity, it simply reflects standard French minting practices of the time. Because of this high production number, the coin is not rare in general circulation. What can be rare, however, are coins that have survived in exceptionally high grades, such as uncirculated or mint state condition. While millions were made, most circulated heavily and show significant wear today. A coin that retains its original luster, sharp details, and clean surfaces will always attract more attention from collectors than heavily worn examples. With that said, let's discuss value, which is often the biggest question. Many videos and online posts claim that the 1973 5 francs coin can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, those claims are usually exaggerated and based on hypothetical scenarios involving extremely rare minting errors or unusually pristine conditions that most owners do not have. The typical market value of this coin remains modest. In 2025, a circulated coin, one that shows clear signs of wear, usually carries only a small collectible premium. These pieces often sell for a fraction of a dollar to a couple of dollars at most. A lightly circulated or extremely fine example can bring slightly more, but still remains within a low value range. The real interest begins with uncirculated coins, especially those with bright surfaces and no signs of damage. These can sell for a few dollars, and in some cases slightly more if the coin is exceptionally well preserved. However, it is important to remain realistic. Even a beautiful uncirculated example is not considered rare or highly valuable. Certified mint state coins graded by professional grading services may bring additional interest, but even then, prices remain far below rare coin levels. So what about the claims of coins being worth large sums of money? The truth is that such prices generally refer to extraordinary cases involving dramatic mint errors or varieties. These might include off-center strikes, double strikes, missing elements, or severe die defects. Coins like these are always possible in any series, and genuine errors can command high prices. However, error coins are extremely uncommon, and owning a normal 1973 5 francs coin does not mean you possess one of these rare anomalies. If you suspect your coin might be an error, it must be examined carefully by a qualified specialist before assuming it carries exceptional value. for most collectors, the appeal of the 1973 French 5 francs coin lies not in its monetary value but in its design and historical significance. It represents a period of transformation in French currency and showcases one of the country's most admired artistic designs. If you are building a world coin collection, a French collection, or simply enjoy coins with meaningful national symbols, the 1973 5 francs fits perfectly into any thematic set. For anyone thinking about selling, the best advice is to set realistic expectations. Unless your coin is uncirculated, certified, or has a clear mint error, its value will remain modest. If you are a buyer, aim for the highest quality example you can find because premium condition always stands out in the long term. Even with common coins. As we move further into 2025, the market for world coins remains stable, and demand for classic mid-20th century pieces continues to grow gradually. While this coin will likely never reach the levels of rare historical French coins, it will always hold a place among collectors who appreciate its beauty and symbolism. 1976 No Mint Mark French 1 franc coin. Although it might look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, this coin carries a rich history, an iconic design, and an interesting place in both French culture and the collectible market. If you recently discovered one in an old drawer, inherited it from family, or found it in a mixed lot of world coins, this video will help you understand exactly what you have, how rare it truly is, and what it is worth today in the year 2025. The 1976 French 1 franc coin belongs to the era of the new franc, issued in post-war France and circulating widely throughout the country for everyday transactions. The coin features one of the most recognizable images in French numismatic art, la semeuse, known as the sower. This graceful figure was designed by the renowned French engraver Louis-Oscar Rody. On the obverse of the coin, she is depicted walking forward, scattering seeds as the sun rises behind her. The design evokes the ideas of growth, hope, and national renewal. This motif has been used on many French coins over the decades and is often considered a national artistic treasure. Turning the coin over, the reverse displays the denomination 1 franc along with the year 1976. Beneath the lettering is a delicate olive branch, symbolizing peace. Surrounding the design is the French national motto, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. This coin is struck in nickel, with a weight of 6 grams and a diameter of 24 millimeters, giving it a sturdy, durable feel that made it perfect for daily use at the time. Now let's talk about rarity. Many people assume that any old pre-Euro coin must be rare, but that is not necessarily the case. The 1976 1 franc coin had a very large mintage, with well over 100 million pieces produced. That enormous quantity means that this coin is actually considered common in the world of numismatics. Despite the lack of a mint mark, the coin was issued for regular circulation, not as a special release, and therefore most of them were produced to meet everyday economic demand rather than for collectors. For this reason, the vast majority of surviving examples do not command high premiums. However, the value of any coin depends heavily on condition. If your 1976 1 franc coin has been carried in pockets, rubbed against other coins, or has visible wear, discoloration, or scratches, it falls into the circulated category. Coins in this condition usually trade for very small amounts. But if you happen to have one that was stored carefully and remains in extremely fine or uncirculated condition, the value increases noticeably. Collectors who want to build a complete set of modern French coins often look for clean, lustrous examples with sharp details. Such coins are much less common than worn ones, and this is where value can rise. Another factor that affects the coin's worth is its metal composition. Because it is made of nickel rather than silver or gold, it does not have intrinsic metal value. This means that the price is determined almost entirely by collector demand and the visual appeal of the coin itself. Coins made of precious metal can rise in value when gold or silver prices rise, but nickel coins do not benefit from that type of market movement. So what is the 1976 French 1 franc coin worth today in 2025? Prices vary depending on the condition of the individual coin. Most circulated pieces sell for a small amount, typically just a few cents to around $1. Coins that are well preserved, showing only light wear, can sell for slightly more. The highest values are found in coins that appear nearly flawless, with bright original shine and no noticeable scratches or marks. Such uncirculated examples can reach several dollars, sometimes approaching the $10 range in the best circumstances. While this is not a life-changing amount, it is still a respectable value for a modern circulation coin made of base metal. It is important to be aware that some sellers exaggerate the rarity of this coin, calling it extremely rare or worth a fortune. These claims often appear in online listings or social media posts designed to attract attention. The truth is that the 1976 1 franc coin is common, and while it certainly has historical significance, it is not rare in the numismatic sense. Collectors value honesty, accurate grading, and realistic expectations, so keep this in mind when seeking or assessing coin values. Despite its modest monetary value, the 1976 1 franc coin remains a charming and meaningful collectible. It represents an era of French history, carries an iconic artistic design, and preserves a piece of the nation's pre-Euro monetary system. For collectors of world coins, it is a must-have addition, and for beginners, it is an excellent coin to start learning about grading, design, and historical context. The 1976 no-mint mark French 1 franc coin is not rare, but it is historically significant and visually appealing. Its value in 2025 generally ranges from a few cents for worn examples to several dollars for coins in exceptional condition. While it may not be worth a large amount of money, it remains a meaningful artifact with cultural and artistic importance. The 1977 French 1 franc coin, the version struck without a mint mark. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary circulation coin, but its history, design, and collectability make it a fascinating piece worth discussing. And of course, we'll answer the big question everyone wants to know: can this coin be worth a lot of money, and how much value does it hold in the year 2025? To understand this coin properly, we need to look at the era it comes from. The 1 franc coin of 1977 belongs to the period of the new franc, introduced in 1960 and used until France transitioned to the euro decades later. This coin represents everyday life in France during the late 20th century. It was a familiar sight in pockets, purses, and cash registers, used daily for groceries, transportation, and small purchases. But beyond its practical purpose, the coin carries important cultural symbolism through its iconic design. The design on the obverse side features the famous figure known as la semeuse, or the sower. This imagery depicts a woman striding forward confidently, sowing seeds as the sun rises behind her. She wears the Phrygian cap, which has long symbolized freedom and the French Republic. This artistic representation links the coin to national values such as liberty and progress. The design was created by Louis Oscar Roti, one of France's most respected engravers, and it remains one of the most beloved motifs in French numismatics. On the reverse side of the coin, the theme continues with another iconic French motto: Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity. Below the motto sits a detailed olive branch, symbolizing peace, with the large numeral 1 and the word franc centered boldly. At a diameter of 24 mm, made entirely of nickel, the coin has a bright silver-gray appearance and a reeded edge, giving it the classic look and feel of mid-20th century European coinage. Now, let's talk about something many people misunderstand: the absence of a mint mark. When collectors hear "no mint mark," they often assume rarity. And while that may be true for certain coins around the world, in the case of the 1977 French 1 franc, the lack of a mint mark is perfectly normal. During this period, the main national mint, Monnaie de Paris, produced circulation coins without adding any special mint symbol. So while the coin does not carry a mint mark, that feature alone does not contribute to rarity. Speaking of rarity, this is where the story gets interesting. The 1977 French 1 franc had an extraordinarily large mintage. More than 200 million pieces were struck for circulation that year. Because so many were produced and so many survived into modern times, the coin is considered very common. For a coin to gain significant value, scarcity is typically the first requirement, and unfortunately, this particular year simply does not meet that criterion. However, that does not mean the coin has no value at all. The value depends heavily on condition. Coins that spent years in circulation with scratches, marks, and wear will be worth only a small amount. But uncirculated examples, coins that have never been used and still have their original mint luster, are more desirable to collectors. These high-grade coins can bring a modest premium. So how much is the 1977 French 1 franc coin worth in 2025? In most cases, a circulated example will typically sell for a very small amount, usually just a few cents to perhaps $1 at most. Clean, lightly circulated pieces may reach $1 or $2. Uncirculated coins, especially those with sharp details and full mint shine, can sometimes reach several dollars. In the most ideal cases, they may be worth around $5 to $6, depending on the buyer and the marketplace. These are realistic values for a coin of this type. You may find claims online suggesting this coin is worth $10, $20, or even more. While it's natural to hope you found a treasure, such inflated values almost always refer to special circumstances, such as rare mint errors, proof strikes, or coins with dark-toned patina that appeal to certain collectors. The average 1977 no-mint mark French 1 franc simply does not fall into the rare coin category. It's a common coin, but it is still collectible in its own right. That brings us to the question, who actually collects this coin and why? First, it appeals to collectors who love French currency. Many enthusiasts build full date-by-date sets of the modern French franc series, and the 1977 coin is an essential part of that collection. Second, history lovers appreciate its artistic and cultural significance. The Sower design connects the coin to the long tradition of French symbolism, and its years of circulation tell a story of daily life in France before the euro. And finally, it's a wonderful entry-level coin for beginners. It is inexpensive, easy to find, and visually striking, making it a great piece to start a world coin collection. The 1977 no-mint mark French 1 franc coin is not rare, and it is not a high-value investment coin. However, it is a beautiful piece with historical meaning, artistic value, and nostalgic charm. Its worth in 2025 remains modest, but its importance in the history of French coinage is undeniable. Whether you found one in a drawer, inherited it from family, or simply picked it up out of curiosity, it is still a wonderful little artifact from the past. The 1968 no-mint mark French 1 franc coin. This video will guide you through its full history, design details, rarity, collector interest, and most importantly, its current market value in 2025. If you have one of these coins at home or you're thinking about collecting French francs, this is the complete breakdown you need. The 1968 1 franc coin comes from the era of the new franc, introduced in the 1960s and used until France transitioned to the euro decades later. This coin carries one of the most famous French numismatic designs, la semeuse, or the sower, a stunning representation of French identity. The obverse features a woman wearing a Phrygian cap, walking forward as she scatters seeds from her sack, symbolizing growth, renewal, and the agricultural heritage of the nation. Designed by the renowned artist Oscar Rodi, this image became a national icon used for many years on French currency. On the reverse, you'll find a clean design with the denomination 1 franc, accompanied by an olive branch symbolizing peace and prosperity. Surrounding the design is the trio of words that represent the French Republic: liberté, égalité, fraternité. The year 1968 is placed prominently at the bottom. The coin has no special mint mark. This was standard for the 1968 issue produced at the main mint in Paris. The coin is composed entirely of nickel, with a diameter of 24 mm and a weight of approximately 6 grams. It was struck in extremely large quantities, more than 50 million pieces, which means that from a rarity standpoint, this coin is considered common. Because of its mass production and base metal composition, its value does not come from intrinsic metal worth, but from collector interest and condition. Where this coin becomes interesting is in its condition. Most 1968 1 franc coins you find today were used in everyday circulation. These circulated examples have wear, scratches, loss of detail, or dull surfaces. Such coins typically have low collector value. However, an uncirculated example, one that was never used, with bright original shine and sharp detail, can still attract collectors and command a higher price. The difference between a heavily used coin and a mint-state coin can be dramatic, even for a common issue. Now let's talk about what this coin is worth in 2025. Because of its large mintage and common availability, a circulated 1968 1 franc coin usually sells for a modest amount. On today's market, you can expect a typical circulated example to be valued between only a few cents up to maybe $0.25, depending on how much wear it has. This makes it affordable and accessible to new collectors, where the value increases is with high-grade, uncirculated pieces. A perfectly preserved mint-state coin, especially one with clean surfaces, no scratches and strong luster, can sell for several dollars and in some cases around $10 to $15. These premium examples are sought after because finding a flawless coin from the 1960s is much harder than finding an average circulated piece. Even though this coin is not rare in general, it still holds historical and aesthetic appeal. Its design represents an essential chapter in French monetary history and showcases one of the most beloved engravings ever used on French currency. Collectors of European coins, especially beginners, appreciate these pieces because they are beautiful, meaningful, and easy to obtain. If you own a 1968 French 1 franc, the best way to know whether it has extra value is to examine its condition carefully. Look for sharp lines in the sewer's robe, a bright reflective surface and untouched details on the olive branch. If it looks like it just left the mint yesterday, you may have a more valuable example. While the 1968 no-mint mark French 1 franc coin is not considered rare or high in monetary value, it remains a fascinating collectible filled with history. Its value in 2025 ranges from a few cents for circulated examples to around $10 or $15 for top-grade uncirculated coins. It's a wonderful piece of French heritage and a great coin for anyone building a world coin collection. The 1978 French 1 franc. At first glance, this coin may seem ordinary, but it carries a deep history, beautiful artistic heritage, and a surprising collector interest that continues even in 2025. Whether you're a beginner in coin collecting or someone who recently found this coin in an old drawer, this full breakdown will help you understand its history, rarity, and true market value today. To appreciate the 1978 French 1 franc, we first need to understand the context in which it was created. The 1 franc coin belongs to the modernized French currency system introduced in 1960. France revalued its money, creating what was called the new franc, which replaced the old franc at a rate of 100 to 1. This reform gave birth to a long-running series of coins that were used for decades before the euro eventually replaced the franc. Within this reformed currency system, the 1 franc coin plays an important role. The most iconic feature of the coin is its design. The front, or obverse, features the famous sower, an allegorical figure of a woman sowing seeds as she walks against the wind. This design was created by artist Louis Oscar Rody at the end of the 19th century and became one of the most recognized images in French numismatics. The depiction suggests growth, renewal, and the steady progress of the nation. This artistic heritage gives the coin a great deal of character, making even common dates like 1978 appealing to collectors around the world. The reverse of the coin displays its face value, the denomination of 1 franc, alongside an olive or laurel branch symbolizing peace. It also carries the national motto of France: liberty, equality, fraternity. Together with its nickel composition, its diameter of about 24 millimeters, and its weight of around 6 grams, the 1978 piece was a practical everyday coin designed for heavy circulation. The 1978 issue was produced at the main mint in Paris, and unlike some earlier French coins, it does not carry additional mint marks. It is what collectors simply call a no-mint mark circulation strike. Millions upon millions of these coins were minted, with production numbers well over 100 million for this year alone. Because of this extremely high mintage, the 1978 1 franc is considered a common coin in almost every grade. In circulated condition, it is among the most frequently encountered French franc coins of its era. However, even though the coin is common, not all 1978 examples are equal. Condition plays a major role in determining how much a collector might pay. Most surviving coins show the expected marks, wear, and dulling caused by years of handling in pockets, purses, and cash registers. These circulated pieces are easy to find and generally carry only minimal monetary value. For the average worn example, the price is typically very low, often only a few cents or perhaps up to a couple of dollars if the coin retains above average sharpness. The story changes slightly when it comes to high-grade coins. Coins that were carefully stored, preserved, or never entered circulation at all can show beautiful luster, crisp details in the sewer's gown and hair, and sharp edges around the lettering. These uncirculated coins, often called mint state examples, attract more interest because they are less common than the circulated ones. Even so, because the mintage is so high, even uncirculated coins remain affordable. Their value today in 2025 tends to fall within a modest range, often a few dollars and up to around $5 or $6 for particularly attractive examples. While these values are not high, collectors still appreciate them for completing sets or for enjoying the design in its sharpest form. Given the enormous number minted, this is not a rare or scarce date, and it is not typically considered a coin that commands high investment interest. It does not contain precious metals, and it is not part of a low mintage anomaly. That means you should not expect this coin to be worth large sums of money unless it has some special condition or grading status. Nevertheless, the 1978 1 franc remains a beloved coin for several reasons. First, the design is historic and artistically significant. This alone makes it a favorite among world coin collectors. Second, it serves as an accessible starting point for anyone interested in French currency, because it is inexpensive and easy to obtain. Third, it represents an important era in French monetary history, the final decades before the adoption of the euro. And lastly, as with many outdated national currencies, nostalgia and cultural value often keep interest alive. If you own a 1978 French 1 franc, you can evaluate it by looking carefully at its condition. Look for signs of wear, smooth areas where details once were, scratches across the surface, or dull, darkened metal. A coin with clear details, a bright finish, and minimal marks is more desirable. Avoid cleaning the coin, as cleaning can reduce its collectible value. If you plan to sell it, take clear photos of both sides, capturing the light to show the details properly. In today's market, in the year 2025, the value of the 1978 1 franc is generally modest. A normal circulated example will usually bring only a small amount, while an uncirculated piece may reach a few dollars. Although it is not a high-value coin, it remains an excellent piece for collectors who appreciate design, history, and the story of currency evolution. So, while the 1978 no mint mark French 1 franc coin may not make you rich, it holds real historical charm, artistic beauty, and collectible appeal. If you enjoy building sets or learning the stories behind everyday objects from the past, this coin fits perfectly into that journey. And sometimes, the true value of a coin is not only its market price but the history and heritage it represents. 1965 no mint mark French 1 franc coin, a small but historically significant piece of France's monetary heritage. Whether you're a coin collector, an investor, or simply curious about rare and valuable currency, this detailed breakdown will help you understand the history, rarity, and actual value of this coin in today's market. The 1965 French 1 franc coin belongs to the era of the new franc, introduced in 1960 when France revalued its currency. This coin features the famous sewer design created by the renowned artist Louis Oscar Rody. The image of a woman sowing seeds in the fields has been a national symbol of growth and prosperity, and it became one of the most iconic French coin designs. The coin is made of nickel, weighs 6 grams, and has a diameter of 24 millimeters with a reeded edge. Although it once circulated all across France in everyday transactions, it was fully removed from legal tender use once the euro replaced the franc, turning this once mundane coin into a collectible item. In terms of production, the 1965 1 franc coin was minted in large quantities, with more than 44 million pieces struck. Because of this high mintage, the coin is generally not considered rare as far as circulation numbers go. These coins were used widely and spent many years in the pockets and coin purses of French citizens. However, while the coin as a type is common, condition plays the most important role in determining value. A heavily circulated example with scratches, wear, and dull surfaces is considered common and not particularly valuable. A coin that has been preserved in excellent condition, especially one with original mint luster, sharp details, and no evidence of cleaning or damage, becomes far more desirable. The market value of this coin in 2025 varies greatly depending on condition. Most circulated examples fall into very low price ranges, often worth only a small amount. Lightly circulated pieces with moderate wear may be worth a few dollars. Coins in higher grades such as very fine or extremely fine can command more interest among collectors, often placing them in a mid-range value category. However, the highest value belongs to the coins that have been preserved in uncirculated or nearly uncirculated condition. A pristine example with no wear, strong luster, and excellent eye appeal can reach considerably higher prices. These top-grade coins may sell for tens of dollars, and well-preserved pieces can approach the $50 range depending on buyer demand and the presentation of the coin. Because the coin is made of nickel and contains no silver or gold, its value is purely numismatic. This means that condition, not metal content, determines what collectors are willing to pay. The coin's age alone does not make it extremely valuable, but a well-preserved example from 1965 can still hold meaningful value because high-grade survivors are not as common as circulated pieces. Many of these coins spent decades being used, dropped, scraped, and stored in jars or mixed with other coins, causing heavy surface wear. Finding a bright, original, untouched coin from this year can be surprisingly difficult, and that difficulty is where the value begins to rise. It is also important to address a common misunderstanding. Many people believe that older coins must automatically be worth a lot of money, but that is not always true. The 1965 1 franc coin had a high mintage and is widely available in worn condition. The only examples that attract serious collector attention are those in exceptional condition. A seller may list a common worn coin for a high price, but that does not mean buyers will pay that amount. Actual selling prices are typically much lower unless the coin is in a grade close to mint state. If you happen to own one of these coins, there are several things you can do to protect or maximize its value. First, never clean the coin. Cleaning a coin might make it appear shinier, but it damages the surface and significantly reduces collector value. Store the coin in a protective holder or coin flip to prevent further wear. Keep it away from humidity, moisture, and extreme temperatures. If the coin appears to be in exceptionally high condition, consider having it graded by a professional grading service. A certified grade gives the coin credibility and can increase buyer confidence, potentially raising the coin's market value. The current market conditions in 2025 show stable interest in world coins and vintage European currency. While the 1965 French 1 franc is not considered a major rarity, it holds historical appeal and remains a charming addition to many collections. Prices can fluctuate slightly based on overall demand, but the market generally remains consistent year to year. For collectors building a set of French francs, this coin is an essential piece, and sourcing it in the highest grade possible remains a popular challenge. The 1965 no-mint mark French 1 franc coin is a historically meaningful collectible from the mid-20th century. While it is not a rare treasure by default, its value emerges when preserved in near mint or mint condition. These high-grade examples can be worth a noticeable amount, while circulated pieces remain affordable and accessible to beginners. If you own one, take time to examine the condition carefully. You might have a fascinating piece of history that, in the right condition, holds more value than you expect. The 1969 French 1 franc coin, a piece of monetary history that many collectors come across and often wonder whether it might be rare, valuable, or worth holding on to going into the year 2025. Although the coin is simple in appearance, its background, design, and collector interest make it an interesting subject for numismatists and beginners alike. So sit back as we explore its history, mintage, rarity, current market value, and overall significance in today's collecting world. The 1969 1 franc coin belongs to the era of the new franc, introduced in France in 1960 as part of a currency reform aimed at stabilizing the economy. During this period, French coinage adopted a modernized artistic style, and one of the most iconic images was placed on the 1 franc coin. On the front of the coin, you will find the classic figure known as la semeuse, or the sower, an allegorical female figure wearing the Phrygian cap as she scatters seeds into the wind. This iconic design was originally created by the master engraver Oscar Rodi and symbolizes hope, progress, and the forward-moving spirit of the French Republic. The coin is struck in nickel, has a diameter of 24 millimeters, and weighs around 6 grams, making it a sturdy, durable piece intended for widespread circulation. On the reverse of the 1969 1 franc coin appears the denomination surrounded by olive leaves, along with France's national motto, liberty, equality, fraternity. The simplicity and elegance of this design helped make the coin recognizable for generations. Collectors today still appreciate it for its style and historical context, even if the coin itself is not particularly rare. Now let's talk about mintage and rarity. In 1969, the Paris Mint produced more than 70 million of these coins. With a mintage that high, this particular date is considered a very common issue within the series. The coin also does not normally feature a mint mark variation that would make it rare or desirable as a special variety. The so-called no mint mark version is simply the regular circulation strike, not a scarce error or limited edition. As a result, rarity is not a major factor influencing the value of this coin. Availability is high, and collectors can easily obtain examples in both circulated and uncirculated condition. With that said, it is still a collectible, and collectors often want to know how much their coin might be worth. The value of the 1969 1 franc coin depends heavily on its condition. Circulated examples, which show clear signs of wear, tend to sell for very modest prices, usually around $0.50 to $1 in today's market. Moderately worn examples, those in fine or very fine condition, may reach slightly above $1, depending on the buyer and market conditions. Coins that have been preserved in extremely fine condition, with strong details and minimal wear, may reach around $1 or a bit more. The highest prices are found in uncirculated specimens, showing no wear at all and often retaining strong luster. Even then, because the coin is common, their value usually stays within roughly $1 to $2. Perfect gem-grade examples can sell for slightly more if the right collector is looking for them, but they are still not considered high-value pieces. So is the 1969 1 franc coin worth a lot of money? The honest answer is no. Its worth lies more in its history and its place within the broader series of French coinage than in monetary value. Because millions were produced, and so many survive in good condition, the coin remains inexpensive even decades later. It does not contain precious metal, so it has no melt value beyond its nickel composition. The lack of rarity or special varieties means that collectors mainly acquire it as part of a full date set or simply because they appreciate the sower design. That being said, uncirculated examples are always more desirable, and if you happen to have one in pristine condition, it will be on the higher end of the price scale. Though still not considered a rare treasure, even with its low value, the coin remains popular for several reasons. First, the semeuse design is one of the most beloved in French numismatics, making the coin attractive to collectors around the world. Second, it represents an important period in French monetary history before the eventual transition to the euro. Third, it is an accessible coin that allows beginners to start collecting without needing to spend much money. Many collectors enjoy assembling full-year sets of the French franc series from 1960 to 2001, and the 1969 coin fits naturally within that group. If you have a 1969 1 franc coin and want to evaluate it, start by examining the condition. Look for the sharpness of the details, especially the lines in the clothing of the sower, the texture of the fields, and the clarity of the lettering. Check for scratches, dents, or signs of cleaning, as cleaned coins often lose collector value. A naturally aged, original surface is preferred. Also make sure the coin has not been polished, which can make it shiny but significantly lower its desirability. As with all collectible coins, the best prices are achieved by coins in original, untouched condition. As we look at the market in 2025, the value of this coin remains stable. Common circulation grades will continue to sell for well under $2, and uncirculated coins may reach slightly above that. The coin is not expected to suddenly increase in value, and there are no known varieties that would transform it into a high-value piece. Its role is more historical than financial, making it an interesting but inexpensive coin to collect. The 1969 French 1 franc coin is a charming and historically rich example of mid-20th century French currency. While it is not rare or exceptionally valuable, it remains a meaningful and visually appealing addition to a collection. Collectors appreciate it for its artistry, its symbolic design, and its place within the broader story of French numismatics. If you enjoy affordable yet historically significant coins, the 1969 1 franc is a great piece to hold on to. Thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe for more in-depth coin videos and numismatic insights.